Hi there, me again, Dr. Crystal Johnson. Next, I want to share a bit about the research that I've been doing in my laboratory. I mentioned earlier that there are microbes in the ocean and in estuaries, such as in coastal areas. These ocean microbes that I've been studying are called Vibrios. I've been studying different types of Vibrios, including Vibrio parahaemolyticus, Vibrio vulnificus, and Vibrio cholerae. There are many others besides these three, but these are the main three that are pathogenic to humans. If you've ever developed diarrhea after eating raw oysters, then you are probably infected with Vibrio parahaemolyticus, if not norovirus. Vibrio parahaemolyticus infection is usually the result of eating raw or undercooked shellfish, seafood. Most of the time, people, the infection clears without having to go to the hospital. Unfortunately, for some people, their immune systems aren't quite strong enough to fight off this infection, and it can lead to sepsis or even death. This is also the case for Vibrio vulnificus, the second one, except Vibrio vulnificus causes more damage in the blood than in your intestines, often because it entered the body through an open wound. You're walking along the beach, minding your own business, step on a seashell, and then you have some problems. This Vibrio can technically cause intestinal problems and has done so in the past, but it's particularly heinous in that it can cause amputations of limbs and death surprisingly quickly. It grows very fast in the human body. It grows very fast in a laboratory, which is great for me as a microbiologist, not so great for people who might get it into their bloodstream. Vibrio vulnificus can have a case fatality rate as high as 50%, which is a lot higher than coronavirus right now. The third one of the big three is Vibrio cholerae. It's a huge cause of diarrhea and death, especially in developing countries, especially in the very young. Mainly, it's associated with lack of access to clean drinking water. Vibrio cholerae is especially bad because it kills so many people, and because treatment for cholera is so ridiculously easy, simple access to clean water, and yet it kills many. What's exciting and frustrating about these three Vibrio species is that although they're naturally found almost everywhere in aquatic ecosystems and at pretty high levels, the vast majority of them are just not pathogenic. For example, in the average drop of ocean water, for all the Vibrio parahaemolyticus present, the vast majority of them just don't have the genetic tools needed to cause diarrhea or infections in humans. This is great for people who might want to eat seafood or raw oysters. Not so great for microbiologists studying these little guys, because we want to study this tiny minority of non-pathogens that can potentially cause massive outbreaks and even pandemics. The fact that most of these Vibrios that we're detecting and samples collected in the field are not pathogenic is a major reason for the disconnect between what we see in clinical settings and what healthcare providers are seeing and what we're seeing in a typical water sample. Okay, so these Vibrios are killing millions of people. Why not just get rid of the bacteria? Just dump some bleach or antibiotics into the ocean and get on with it. Easy there, Mr. President. Not only would it be impossible to get rid of all these bacteria, you wouldn't want to do that. They're actually beneficial. Many of these Vibrios help recycle carbon in the ocean. They're water vultures. Dead crustaceans and other animals have to go somewhere. That somewhere is Vibrios. The ocean would be uninhabitable without them. So what can we do instead? Prediction. If we can predict when Vibrio levels are dangerous, then we can tell people with weakened immune systems, hey, you might want to skip those oysters that were collected on Tuesday morning. Oysters on the half shell, oysters consumed raw. We know that Vibrio levels go up and down throughout the year in response to changes in temperature. We know that the levels are higher when it's warmer outside. Have you ever heard that old wives' tale, you don't eat raw oysters in months that don't have R? Well, which are those months? Right, May, June, July, and August. What else can you tell me about those months? Right, they're the hottest months. These Vibrios grow like crazy when it's warm, so we know that temperature tells at least part of the story. So there is some truth there to that old wives' tale. But what about other environmental factors? Might Vibrio levels be higher when salinity is higher? What about the cloudiness of the water or the color of the water? Here's some data we've generated in my lab over the years. What I'm showing here is a gene called the thermolabile hemolysin, TLH. It's found in Vibrio parahaemolyticus. So when you see TLH, you know that there's a Vibrio parahaemolyticus there. It's called a hemolysin hemolysin because it breaks open red blood cells. So we're looking at those levels, and they're indicated by blue squares. They increase as temperatures increase. The temperature is indicated by the black diamonds and on the secondary axis on the right side. You'll notice that there is a connection between the Vibrio levels, the TLH levels, and temperature, but it's not 100%. There are other factors that are impacting the Vibrio levels increasing and decreasing. And we're still trying to figure that out. What other environmental parameters might impact these changes in Vibrio levels, and how so? In the middle of our study, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill happened, leading us to hypothesize that there would be an increase in Vibrio levels. Why? Because although we know the Vibrio parahaemolyticus genome sequence, the entire genetic code, there are many genes, little pieces of DNA that we have no idea what they do. We don't understand, they look like other genes, and so we can infer that, they might carry out similar processes, but we don't know what they do. We know that they help the Vibrios adapt to changes in their environment. Knowing these sequences, it's like knowing the letters in a book, but not being able to read the book or understand the book or know what the book is about. And so it turns out we were right. We did see increases in Vibrios, but more studies are needed to figure out what those unknown genes do. Talk about unresolved mysteries.